OMG. Look at us, ready to do another tour here in New York City. Well, I'm just looking out here of New York Harbor at the Statue of Liberty, Old Lady Liberty, and I'm here to tell you that we're going to do a tour of Battery Park City today. It's a very little known neighborhood, very new here in Lower Manhattan. But before we begin, real quick, go over the business. That's what you got to do. Please check out my Patreon. That's how I support myself, make more of these videos. That's how it's going to grow, baby. Be a part of it. Help me out. If you can, check it out. Also, too, just go ahead and subscribe. That's a huge help. And like the video, too. If you watch any of these videos other than this one, too, please help me out. That's all the analytics, or so all the tech heads tell me. I have no idea what they're talking about, but I will regurgitate what they've told me. So do that. And otherwise, we're ready to start. What do you think, Eric? Eric's helping me out today. Stewie is busy, so my friend Eric here is helping. How you feeling?
Feeling like there's a lot of wind.
You're feeling like there's a lot of wind, and you're right. You're right. That's why I'm wearing this sweet 90s flannel, and gonna get out there and get going. But I don't know, man. It's a pretty nice day. You ready to start this thing?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it, baby. All right. So we're walking into Battery Park City. We started here in Wagner Park. This is where I actually ended the last video I did, which was on Battery Park. There you go, sick plug, baby. You gotta hit watch it or whatever, you know. But we're gonna walk into Battery Park City, and we're gonna talk about this whole area. So Battery Park City is in the south part of Manhattan, right next to really what used to be the oldest part of the city. This is where the colony of New Amsterdam began. I'll talk about that a little later. This is where the colony of New York under the British was located. And this is where the city of New York kind of began. So that's kind of cool. But this whole area of Battery Park City is actually a fairly new development. In fact, it wasn't even really a thing until the early 1980s. So what's happened is that it was actually built on landfill. This whole area is pretty much built on landfill. Oh, check it out. They're filming a movie, Eric. See that? Isn't that pretty cool? They're filming Gaia, it looks like. They're filming the movie or TV show Gaia. Whoa, it's windy, man. This is nuts. But they're filming a movie. We should look to see if we can get some work here, huh? So anyways, as I was saying, this whole area is pretty much built on landfill, right? The landfill actually came from the construction of the World Trade Center. And speaking of construction, stop here for a second. Right next to me is the Skyscraper Museum. This is pretty cool. So the Skyscraper Museum actually has been here since 2004. It used to be in Soho, started in the 1990s. And what it is, it's a museum that deals with the skyscrapers. So you can go and learn about buildings and all that kind of stuff. Pretty cool. Little known museum here in Battery Park City. I think right now has an exhibition about the super talls, the super tall skyscrapers, which by the way is an actual it's an actual designation given to skyscrapers that are over 1,250 feet tall, which by the way is the height of the Empire State Building. So anything taller than the Empire State Building in the world is considered a super tall skyscraper. There's 58 super tall skyscrapers in the world, 7 of them in New York. All right, let's cross. Oh, and check this out, Eric. This is the Museum of Jewish Heritage. I'll pop into frame here. The Museum of Jewish Heritage, this has actually been here since 1997. The building itself is actually shaped like a hexagon, which is kind of cool. And the reason is because of the six points of the Jewish star, and also the 6 million Jews who died in the Holocaust. But people forget how important Judaism and Jewish people are to New York City. So the first Jews actually came to New York in 1654, actually. They were actually booted from Brazil under the Portuguese, and then they came here. And then actually founded the first, synagogue. That's actually dates, it's actually still around today. The Shearith Israel Synagogue is still around today, and it dates back to that founding. Then you had other German Jews who came in the mid-1800s with a huge German influx of immigrants that came at that time. And then at the end of the 1800s, you had the Jews coming from Eastern Europe and the Russia area, whatever, that were getting basically terrorized by the pogroms of around that time. So what happened was a Tsar of the Russian Empire, he died, he was murdered. And they blamed the Jews, and so they burned down their villages, terrorized them, so a bunch of them just hauled ass and came to the United States. So from the year 1881 to like the 1920s, they say like 4.5 million Jews were here in the United States, and around half of them were here in New York. And you got a little, we're walking over to the West Village, not West Village, sorry, what am I talking about? We're walking west, baby. We're walking west next to the Hudson River, and we're walking down the esplanade area here. You can see that little statue there, that is Cabrini, Mother Cabrini. She was the first naturalized U.S. citizen to be canonized as a saint. She was actually an Italian American who came here to the United States to kind of be a missionary for the Italians who were moving here to New York at the time. Here's a little insider info. A lot of Italians in New York, and she came to help them out at the time, and she was canonized. Pretty cool. You have these, like, you know, this little park here, kind of a cool little staircase here, kind of supposed to be shaped like the hull of a ship, but also the crown of the Statue of Liberty. There you can see on the other side. We're gonna get down here in a second. How you doing, Eric?
Doing good.
Is it stressing you out carrying that thing?
Watching, try not to trip over any dogs.
Please don't trip over anything, over dogs especially. We've killed too many dogs on these videos. It's been a big problem. That's not true. Okay.
Patreons love to hear.
Exactly. That being said, donate to my Patreon so I don't kill more dogs. Donate to my Patreon, I'll kill more dogs. That's terrible. I should edit that out. All right, so we're walking. Let's walk down here. So I was talking earlier about the super talls at the Skyscraper Museum. Here's a little trivia question. What is the tallest building in the world? I'll put the answers here on the screen. Touch the screen for the correct answer. If you touch the screen, you are wrong because I don't have the technology. But the answer is Burj Khalifa. Sorry, I hate to do that. Practical joke, baby. But anyways, also too, I was going to tell you about this little neighborhood is around like 16,000, 17,000 people. It's about 92 acres, this whole area. And interesting, about a third of the land of Battery Park City is parkland, which is kind of cool. We're walking through some of it now. On the other side of the water right now, you see the town of Jersey City, which is actually the second largest city in New Jersey. Right over there, you can see all the big buildings. Kind of nice. You ever been to New Jersey, Eric?
All the time.
Really? What do you do over there?
Work.
You work?
A lot of work in New Jersey.
Doing big camera work?
Doing some camera work.
Eric's a professional cameraman, huh? Nothing but the best here. Out here in the distance to my left, you can see Ellis Island. You can see the Statue of Liberty. Pretty good views of this whole area. Don't worry about zooming too much in on them. I'll get in B-roll. But that's Ellis Island. So Ellis Island, I've mentioned this in past videos. One of my favorite places in New York. This here, that building itself was actually opened in 1900. Ellis Island was located there and used as an actual immigrant processing center since the year 1892. But that building saw from the year 1900 to 1954 when it officially closed, but more 1924 when it really stopped kind of seeing the huge influx. It saw around 12 million immigrants pass through it. Well, they say 40% of all Americans can trace at least one ancestor through Ellis Island. Kind of cool. Also, too, you have Statue of Liberty back there as well. The Statue of Liberty has an interesting story. I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, oh, the Statue of Liberty, tourism, tourists, whatever. Everyone knows about the Statue of Liberty. You don't. Okay, first of all, I talk about this in a video about the Statue of Liberty. You should check that out. But the Statue of Liberty is actually named Liberty Enlightening the World, and it was a gift from the French, right? Everyone knows that, but from more specifically, a French sculptor named Auguste Bartholdi. Now, this guy had always had the dream of creating the world's largest statue, like a Colossus of Rhodes. You know, that was his inspiration. And in fact, he designed an initial kind of model, an initial version of the Statue of Liberty for the Suez Canal. It was going to be put in Egypt, but he was unable to get financing for it. So he tweaked that design a little bit to present it to the United States under the suggestion of a man named Edouard Labouilliere. He's a French guy. This guy was in love with the United States, and he was in love with republicanism and democracy and freedom. And remember, at the time in the 1800s, France was going back and forth between monarchy and republic. So to plant the flag on the side of republicanism and freedom and all that, he suggested to Bartholdi to get funding. Maybe he should, make it a statue, declaring liberty as such a cool thing. So he did. He made it that, and then he presented it to the United States without a pedestal, unfortunately. But they ended up getting money for the pedestal because one of the men who helped is Joseph Pulitzer. He owned the New York World newspaper. He actually helped raise money by printing everyone who donated any money in his paper. So people were super pumped. This is like before Instagram. They're just like, oh yeah, my name, check it out, my name's in the New York World. I donated 1 cent. So people just donated a ton of money and they built that pedestal. Cool story. Cool story, bro. There you go, that's Jersey City over there. You can see that little building there. That's actually the train station that used to take people from Ellis Island to other parts of the United States. So when people came to Ellis Island, they didn't just stay in New York, obviously. A lot of people actually went to other parts of the country. Go figure. And then there's Jersey City, pretty cool. So a little bit more about Jersey City is Jersey City is actually the third most densely populated city in the country behind New York and San Francisco. Kind of crazy. And it's also one of the fastest growing. It grew like 20% from 2010 to about 2020, which is kind of nuts. Incorporated 1820. It actually dates back pretty far. So I was also talking too about the Jewish immigration here to New York and to the United States. What's interesting is actually the Jewish population, the first ones that came here in 1654 were actually met with some anti-Semitism. In fact, Peter Stuyvesant, who was the Director General of New Amsterdam, which was the Dutch colony at the time, he actually tried to give them the boot, which is kind of difficult when you only have one leg, which is what he had, only one leg, but he tried to give them the boot anyway. And they actually fought and pushed, and the Dutch West India Company kind of overruled him and said, they're free to stay, man. They're paying their bills and dues just like anybody else, which is kind of cool. That's kind of what New York is all about, man. You come to New York, you do your part, and it's pretty open to kind of just letting you hang out. So we're walking along the Hudson River here in Battery Park City. All these newer buildings, not the prettiest buildings, I guess. They're all kind of new. But a lot of people live in here. I think I mentioned this in the last video, but people like Leonardo DiCaprio, Tyra Banks, those are some of the people who've had places here or have places here. It's nice. It feels like a little suburb within New York. We're down at the oldest part of New York, oldest part of Manhattan, but it's new, pretty new and like fancy, and got amenities and bigger spaces and stuff. So over here to my other side, you want to get over here, Eric, check it out here to the right. This is another little park here. A lot of parkland, remember that. All right, back on the Hudson River. This is the Hudson River, guys. I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about this because it's a really cool story. It's named after Henry Hudson. Henry Hudson was an Englishman. He was hired to actually find a route to India by the Dutch East India Company at the time. So it's interesting to keep in mind, Dutch East India Company was like the Google of the time, like a huge corporation, right? So they hire him, find a route to India. He has a hunch that it's west, all right? They told him to look through the Arctic Circle, to actually go north and try to find it that way. He goes west, goes to the New World, actually on the advice of John Smith, who was actually in Virginia at the time. He starts there, goes up the coast looking for a way in and a way through, stumbles through the Hudson River, right? He goes all the way to Albany, nothing. He goes back, actually explores the area too, takes copious notes, goes back to the Dutch East India Company and tells them, hey guys, sorry I didn't find a route to India, but I did find this sick harbor with deep water and these two islands protecting it. It's really great. They're like, well, that's not what we paid you for, so you're fired. But we're gonna go check it out. So they did, and they started trading with the natives, and they found that there was a huge amount of beaver pelts here. That's was a really popular thing at the time for hats, for fancy hats. And eventually they settle, and it's incorporated as New Amsterdam in 1625. The Dutch West India Company is formed to oversee New Netherland, which was their whole entire settlement here in the New World. A lot of newness going on, which was very interesting at the time. By the way, Henry Hudson ended up dying in what is today Hudson Bay because he insisted on looking for that route to India, and actually his crew mutinied against him because they were freezing their asses off, and they sent him packing. They put him in a little rowboat with him and his supporters and his son and just said, get the hell out of here, we don't want you anymore. They go back to England, they're kind of tried and everything, but yeah, he died in Hudson Bay. Kind of crazy. And now today, everything's named after him. All right, we're gonna keep walking here. Check it out. So this is the North Cove Yacht Harbor. This is pretty nuts. You can lease these spaces and rent these spaces to put your mega yachts. They have like 175 long berths for the yachts. I think there's like 30 something total. But they filmed the Wolf of Wall Street here. Eric, do you know that? You remember that scene when he's on the boat and everything, throwing money?
Yeah, I remember that.
That's where they filmed it. Also, too, I think they cost. Well, last I checked, I think they're like $100,000 a month. I think it ends up coming to like the rent on those leases. Pretty nuts. $100,000 a month. That's some serious money right there, just to park your boat that you use maybe twice a year.
So our permit, that's where we're going, right?
That's right. We're going to get onto my yacht right now. That's actually where we're headed. My yacht. It's right over there. That one with the two big balls on top. Yeah, pretty crazy. I should see if any of these people owning the. I should go on yacht to yacht, knock on the door, and give them my Patreon info. See if you know, a nice little donation isn't out of their range.
Yacht to yacht free YouTube idea.
There you go. Now you're thinking. All right. So all this area here too. You can see this behind me. This used to be the World Financial Center, and it's not anymore. It's actually, well, it is, but it's not. It's actually called Brookfield Place. Brookfield Place is this Canadian company. They own a ton of land all over the, country. They pretty much a shopping mall, unfortunately. What's that? A shopping mall now in New York? Not possible. Believe it. They're all over now, but this is one of them. Very fancy little shopping mall. That's like the Gucci and those kinds of stores. I wanted to show you guys something over here that's kind of cool. Couple things. Hopefully we can get access to it. So this right here, it's kind of covered right now, unfortunately, but this is the NYPD Memorial Wall. It's covered, but then there's another cool thing here. All the NYPD officers who died in the line of duty here. I bet you didn't know this is over here, Eric. I'm going to show you something pretty cool. So let's go this way. This is a little secret here, Eric. Look at that. You know what that is?
No, what is that?
That is a piece of the Berlin Wall. One of two pieces in New York City of the Berlin Wall. In case you don't know, the Berlin Wall divided East from West Berlin starting in 1961. So after World War II, there was a thing called the Cold War. I don't know if you heard of it. It was a little standoff pretty much between, the West and Russia, right? And the Soviet Union, sorry. And they kind of had East Berlin, and the West, France, Britain, and the United States had West Berlin. This divided the entire city, the capital, right? And the capital was actually completely located in East Germany, which was the Russians, the Soviets. But the capital was actually divided, and this is what divided it. And crazy. It went up like overnight, pretty much. In August 1961, I mean, families who were divided, someone was on a business trip or something, completely cut off from the rest of their family. Husbands who were on work trips, divided from their wives, kids. It was a complete mess because it went up pretty much overnight. And the reason pretty much it went up was because so many people at the time were leaving East Berlin. A lot of what they called a brain drain. And it was really kind of stressing out first of all, the East Germans, the GDR. This man named Walter Ulbricht was kind of the architect of that wall, not architect, but actually the brain behind it, and as well as Nikita Khrushchev, who at the time kind of put his stamp of approval on it. So many people were leaving. I mean, thousands a day were leaving in the last few months. That they're like, we can't have this. We're not going to have a country anymore if this keeps it up. So they pretty much put it down to keep people from leaving, even though they said it was to keep the fascists from getting their stuff in. Anyways, it lasted until November 9th, 1989. Pretty cool, actually. Under a lot of pressure, there were protests, there was a huge shift, and actually. Mikhail Gorbachev was the new premier in Russia. In the Soviet Union, he kind of helped turn the tide a little bit. And eventually the pressure got to them and they said, it's free to pass through. You're free to pass through now. No more restrictions. And because of that, everyone was so pumped up, they just went straight to the wall. And there was such huge crowds and everything, they couldn't control the excitement. People just started knocking it down. Pretty nuts. All right, so now we're walking through this area called Pump House Park. So it's called Pump House Park. I know it sounds like a sex club or something, but it's actually a park. It's called that because there was a pump house underneath here that used to serve the World Trade Center. That's what they say. And you still have the yacht thing here. There's the Brookfield Place. Once again, World Financial Center here in this area, home to lots of like headquarters and offices. You got American Express. What else? The College Board, actually. College Board, they're the ones who make the SAT and the ACT. Remember those tests, Eric?
I do.
Oof, that's brutal, man. Taking standardized tests is not fun. I remember when I took the bar exam a little while ago, well, years ago, and I was so stressed out, I lost like 15 pounds. I still can't eat Raisin Bran because I was eating a lot of Raisin Bran at the time, and I still can't eat it. No more tests for me, baby. That's it. I got my little bar certification. I'm perfectly qualified now to do YouTube videos. So lucky me. But that's the Winter Garden there. The Winter Garden was actually built originally in 1988. And this was completely destroyed on 9/11. I mean, I guess people don't realize how close we are to the World Trade Center. It's literally across the street from this whole Brookfield Place area. So this was completely destroyed, and they had to rebuild it and then rededicate it in 2002. In fact, George W. Bush himself came to dedicate it. You guys remember George W. Bush, huh? He came and he said, my fellow Americans, we've been misunderestimated. That was pretty good, right? Thanks.
Took me back.
Thank you. I really transported you back to 2002. So anyways, this is all like fancy little restaurants and stuff here at Brookfield Place. You've seen one shopping mall, you've seen them all, right? And then here we're walking into Belvedere Park. It's called Belvedere Park. I almost said Mr. Belvedere Park. Very different, I think. Remember Mr. Belvedere, the TV show? All right, that's from the 80s. All right. So we're gonna cut through here. I'm gonna show you something that a lot of people don't know. Look at all these yachts, man. Those are some fancy yachts. All right, I'm gonna show you guys something pretty cool over here. So, cool thing to realize is that Battery Park City, like I said before, is built on landfill. This whole area, like 92 acres, didn't exist. This was all water. The water came up to this area. So this whole area here to the north, the whole area to the south where we started this tour, across the street from like that area there where Battery Park City begins, used to be an area known as Little Syria. So a lot of immigrants came over from that area. It was actually just a part of the Ottoman Empire at the time. It wasn't an actual country named Syria yet. And a lot of them were Catholics, actually. And there's actually still a church there that dates back to 1812. The actual building is from like the late 1800s and then the main facade is from like the 1920s, but it dates back pretty far. And it's called St. George's Syrian Catholic Church, still there. Dates back to when it was Little Syria. Up here on the other side, where like the World Trade Center is today, this area used to be known as Radio Row. And it was actually demolished. A lot of it was demolished for the World Trade Center when that was built. That was built in the 1960s. In fact, up here to the left, we're going to see pretty soon Rockefeller Park. And Rockefeller Park, named after the Rockefellers, but specifically Nelson Rockefeller, who was kind of one of the brains behind the World Trade Center, as was David Rockefeller. Well, Nelson Rockefeller was a former governor of New York, also a former vice president of the United States under Gerald Ford. And then here is something you probably haven't seen either, Eric. A lot of New Yorkers don't know this exists. This here is the Irish Hunger Memorial. So this was actually put here in 2002. Careful for those things, don't hit your knee. I don't want to kill you. So this is actually, I don't want you to sue me. I'm a lawyer, not a very good one. But this is the Irish Hunger Memorial. It was put here in 2002. It's got all these like little quotes from journals, from poems, all kinds of things relating to the Irish. But it commemorates the influx of Irish here to New York. They call it the Irish Hunger Memorial because the potato famine, the Irish hunger, of starting in 1845. So what happened was the main crop, especially for a lot of the poor, was the potato, and it got hit with this fungus, this like, I guess, infected the crop for about 7 years, and like 1 million Irish died, and then like 1 million left. A lot of them came here. It was one of the first main huge influxes of immigrants to New York City. Kind of cool to actually have like stones from all 32 counties. They have this little recreated shack inside. There was this little cottage, which is a part of Ireland, and it's the Slack family. They recreated it. So kind of cool. Let's walk through the parks, huh? So now we're going to be walking through this little parkland here. See all the buildings and stuff. How are you doing so far, Eric?
I'm good. This is pretty notorious. What's this over here?
This right here?
Yeah.
It's a notorious playground.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? Really, really breathtaking stuff. All right, so what's cool too, I can show this here and on this side. What's cool too about Battery Park City is I was saying this is all landfill, right? So when they built World Trade Center, they took all that land and started adding on to the island of Manhattan. And when they did that, they created pretty much a new part of the island. So down here in this crazy area, the financial district, all this, they had this huge swath of like just sand. So people in the end of the 1970s, by the time it was all filled in, started treating it like a beach. So for like 4 years, people came here with like their towels. They would hang out and just like lay out and take in the sun. Pretty cool. So there's like an actual beach here in Lower Manhattan for like, for like 4 years until the first developments were finished. In fact, the Gateway Plaza, which is a little further back, we passed it, was one of the first major developments that was finished in 1983. And also too, I was telling you guys about Little Syria, which is cool, which is a cool story, but one of the reasons why it disappeared was because, some of the immigrants stopped coming in, but also they started developing more of the financial. This is the 1920s, so a lot of buildings came in and replaced a lot of the federal style housing that was there. You had buildings like One Broadway built, that was home to like the White Star Line. You had the Kennard Line building finished on Broadway. You had Standard Oil building their headquarters in the 1920s. It was all in the 1920s or early to late 1920s. So it was a really big deal, Is that a wave? Be nice, People are looking at me weird. Get used to this, Eric. People look at me weird because I have a camera. Well, because you have the camera. Who are they looking at? You or me is the question, right? What do you think?
I think these are all subscribers.
these are all potential subscribers. Always be subscribing. ABS. Always be getting people to subscribe, right? I should just go up to everyone and give them cards. So we're getting kind of to the end here at Battery Park City in a second here. So that's all this. We're going to end here pretty soon. We also just passed a little bit ago the Poets House. The Poets House has been around since 1985. It moved here a little more recently, but the Poets House was actually started by former twice poet laureate of the United States named Stanley Kunitz, and it's pretty much like all things poetry, like 70,000 different volumes of poetry. It's all right here, pretty cool. It's kind of closed right now because of the COVID. I don't know if you knew this, there was a pandemic going around. All right, and over here you have this pavilion here, some sculptures and things. It's kind of cool. You'll see that here in a second. Very nice, lots of parkland around here. Yeah. So,
Ever get Jared Leto?
I've never gotten Jared Leto. I get Ted Bundy a lot. I get, people call me, that guy was just saying, he said I was Jared Leto, I guess. Just kind of, I've never gotten Jared Leto before, but.
Sort of a Leto playing Lincoln kind of look?
I guess so. I what I get is I get Charles Manson now with the long hair and the beard, which I think is a pretty good incentive to shave and cut my hair.
Forget a Netflix original series.
Exactly. Maybe I should just start a spin-off series. All right. So you can see some of these little sculptures. These are kind of cool. These are little sculptures. This little sculpture garden created by a guy named Tom Otterness. He's actually based out of, I want to say, Gowanus in Brooklyn. Pretty cool. He's got some sculptures over on 14th Street and 8th Avenue and the subway there. Other stuff around the city and also around the world, actually. Pretty cool, playful little sculptures. All right, we're getting to the end here pretty soon. But yeah, you can see all the buildings here behind me. Check it out. See all these buildings. So Battery Park City has a lot of these kind of buildings, very new. A lot of them built in the 80s and 90s. There was empty plots of land here for a while too, and even after the first one, I was talking about Gateway Plaza built in 1983, there were still empty plots for a long time. But they tried to improve on some of the downfalls of other parts of New York by making tons of park space, kind of making it a very family-friendly area. So that's kind of cool. It's quiet, not a ton of street life, which is good for some people. I mean, but I don't know. It's nice. Nice. It feels like a little bit like a gated community, a little bit like a little suburb-ish feel. So we'll go over here and we'll finish over here pretty soon. All right. So another thing to keep in mind is that Battery Park City was very affected by 9/11, which happened right over here on the other side. And for months, people couldn't come back to their homes here because it's pretty much like a crime scene, So it was pretty affected, and it's been built back. So we'll end here soon. I'll just stop here, and pretty nice little view. So yeah, Battery Park City, once again, this used to be a beach, kind of crazy, right? Used to be a beach. It's a very new part of this, oldest part of New York. So the oldest part of New York City, where the colony of New Amsterdam began, actually has this whole development here that's pretty new. 1980s. Used to be a beach in the late 1970s where people would come hang out. Today it's home to lots of families, very quiet, parkland, people hanging out, very chill, as the kids say. Totes chill. But, you can see up north from here, you got Tribeca over here. You also have Stuyvesant High School right over here. Stuyvesant High School, very famous school here in New York. Very difficult to get in, actually. It actually started down near what is today Stuytown. Had to move to accommodate more people, but you know, has four Nobel laureates as alumni. See Tim Robbins, Lucy Liu, James Cagney, Eric Holder, all these crazy alumni from there. Anywho, I'm digressing. Yeah, this is pretty much Battery Park City. I thought I'd take you guys on a little walk, a very overlooked area here in Lower Manhattan. A lot of cool stuff, you know, we talked about here, a lot of history it's related to and close to. But that's pretty much it, guys. Before we finish, guys, please check out the Patreon. It's a huge help. I'm trying to get myself a berth at that yacht harbor, you know? I'm not just kidding. So, but you know, I am trying to support these and make these better. Also, too, please subscribe. That's huge. If you like the videos, plan on watching any other ones, have watched any other ones, please subscribe. Also, like the video. Just give it a thumbs up. Super easy. But yeah, this is Battery Park City. Going to work my way up the entire island of Manhattan. Got some cool videos coming. Started to do some lives. Hopefully that keeps up. A lot of plans, baby. We'll see what I get to. Eric, how do we do, man? How'd you feel? This is your first time.
We didn't blow away in the wind.
We didn't blow away in the wind.
It's a beautiful part of the city.
How do you feel about life right now?
I feel great.
You feel great?
I feel like we should stay down here. I like it.
You like it, huh? You want to buy a place here, huh? Do you,
Hey, let's not get carried away, all right?
Let's not get carried away. What did you learn something?
Yeah, I mean, people don't know a lot about Lower Manhattan.
They don't know a lot about Lower Manhattan, specifically Battery Park City. No one knows anything about this area. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I don't know what to tell you other than this video's done. Yeah, that's pretty much it. See y'all later. Sick.